towards the conclusion of this Maimer. I remember when I first learned Chassidus, the first time I learned Chassidus in my life, I must have been in 8th grade in Torah Academy in South Africa. And our teacher, Rabbi Dovid, he said to us that, this is one very fundamental discourse, maybe we should learn it here. He said that he had never taught it so slowly. Every year he would teach the same 8th grade class, the same text, right? So he said he had never taught it so slowly. And he said that's not a bad thing, because the fact that you are asking so many questions means that it becomes conversational, and that's the purpose of Chassidus. Chassidus is not just something to go in one ear and out the other, or straight over your head. It's got to be something that you grapple through, that you struggle, that you challenge, that you marinate. Remember what Chabad means. Chabad means Chachma, Bina, and Das. It's the 3 steps of intellectual processing. And if you don't do all 3 steps of intellectual processing, you're not a mensch. You're not a person. What's the difference between a person and an animal? Intellect. Animals also have emotions. The difference between a person and an animal is intellect. And if you're not fully conscious, fully aware or present of your intellect, you're nishkin mensch. What are the 3 steps? The idea is chachma. The bina is the understanding. But even if you've understood the concept, you've got to go through das, which is the personal feeling, to be able to take that idea that you've understood in your head and internalize it, personalize it, make it a feeling within your heart. That happens through meditation. It happens through verbal conversation. It happens through examples, metaphors, and application. And through living it. And that's why this discourse that we're learning, which is King David's bombshell announcement in Psalms 104, when he says, man goes out to his labor. He's got to finish his work before evening. Sounds like an utterly useless statement by King David. But really what he meant, explained the Baal Shem Tov, that he was referring to our mission here upon this earth, our work. What does it mean, man goes out to his labor? It means when you're born, you're going on a mission. That's what it means. And you better make sure that you finish your job before you die, because if you don't finish your job before evening, before dark, before you die, you're going to have to come back and finish that mission. By the way, you can only come back a maximum of 7 times.
That is interesting.
Where does that come from?
Kabbalah.
Kabbalah?
There's a divine heavenly accounting department. There's all sorts of forensic accounting.
And you don't know which one you're in.
No, you don't get that memo. Every time, whenever you're here, you got to assume this is your last.
You get it done right.
Yeah. And the Rebbe urged people to consider that. He said, look, you urge people to consider this might be your last round. And what happens to you if you don't finish your round? Just think of it this way. Think of it this way. So the way the Arizal explains it is that, and this is my interpretation of the teaching of the Arizal. The Arizal says you have 613 commandments. Now, the 613 commandments in the language of the Kabbalah is 613 tikkunin. Tikunin. Tikkunin. Now, it means repair. But also, the word tikkunin in Aramaic, how's the Aramaic?
Not as good as
In Hebrew, tikkun means repair, but in Aramaic, tikkun means garments, clothing. So now we're getting an interesting perspective on our mission on this world, which is 613 commandments, which is 613 garments. Think about this. Every time you do a mitzvah, you're weaving, you're making yourself a garment. How many garments, think about how many garments are you wearing right now? A shirt, a jacket, a tzitzis, a yarmulke. Think about it. There's 613 different garments. So give an example. When you go to, let's say you go to the beach, right? If you go to the beach and you're just exposed to the sunlight, you get really hurt. You might get skin cancer, God forbid, right? It's be dangerous. So what you need to do is you need to shield yourself with an umbrella, with something, sunscreen, a shirt, whatever. You got to make sure that you're protected. Because if you venture into too much light without protection, what's going to happen to you? You're going to toast. I had a friend in yeshiva back in South Africa. This guy was an Italian kid. He came from Italy with enough swimming pools. At the yeshiva in South Africa, there was a swimming pool in the dormitory. He couldn't control himself, so he would hang out by the pool. One time he fell asleep by the pool. He woke up toast. On one side was toast. He couldn't walk for like 2 weeks. If you're not protected, you're in trouble, right? So what the meaning of the 613 garments, which again is our mission, our general mission in this world. What is our mission? We said, okay, now you get in the memo. Your mission is to fulfill the 613 commandments over your various lifetimes. By the way, every time you come back to this world, there's a schlep. It's not a pleasant experience. It's a very, very wary experience. It's like you've gained so much consciousness and wisdom and awareness in a lifetime. Imagine a soul. Imagine a soul is like a rabbi's son in a previous lifetime. Lives a life of consciousness and awareness, and he's missing one mitzvah. Maybe he wasn't a nice person. Might have been good to God, but he wasn't good to other people. So that soul needs to come back to this world in order to do what? To be a nice person. So now the soul selects which parents it wants to be born to based upon its awareness of its mission. So you would say, I'm going to be born to, I'll go for those people, right? Now those people maybe aren't religious. So what's happening now is that a soul that in a previous lifetime was so conscious and aware now comes back into a world where it doesn't even get a proper Jewish education. So he might be trying to be a nice guy, but he doesn't have the awareness and the consciousness of the previous lifetime. So this is a very disturbing, anxiety-inducing experience because I don't know how they're going to fare. It's not like you send a soldier out to battle and say, look, you got all your training, make it work in the battlefield. Now we're sending you to such a dark place that all your training is subliminal. It's subconscious. It's not aware. So the 613 garments, what does that mean? Every time you do a mitzvah, you're stitching a garment for yourself so that you will be now ready for what? What do you need the clothing for? When you go to heaven, to Gan Eden, what happens in Gan Eden? What happened in the Garden of Eden? Adam speaks to God. God reveals himself to Adam and Eve. It's a place of divine revelation. So just like the sun shines at the beach, so too the divine sun shines in the Garden of Eden. What's going to happen if you come to a place of blinding light and you're not protected? What's going to happen? You'll be like, I can't handle this. Hide me somewhere. You'll be hiding in a tunnel or something, in a cave. You won't be able to handle it. So if you don't have your 613 commandments, something's going to roast and you're not going to be ready for it. That's why we need the 613 commandments, the 613 garments to prepare. So you can't say, well, I did most of them. So you have a shirt, you have a jacket, you have shoes. I just don't have a pair of pants, but otherwise I'm good, right? Seriously, who would go to a wedding like that? How can you walk into a wedding without my left shoe? It's just one shoe, right?
So just like the garments of the soul enable you to interact in this world, the garments of the 613 mitzvahs enable you to interact in the world to come.
Exactly. Very good example. Beautiful. Well said. So now, this being said, folks, now that we're going through this beautiful awareness that the mitzvahs are not an insecure God who's trying to press us under his thumb to show us who's boss. When you realize that the mitzvahs are divine gifts, allowing us an opportunity to become intimate with the divine. Wow. What a paradigm shift that is. Instead of headaches, there are opportunities. Instead of problems, they're bridges. And not everybody's commanded in a mitzvah, by the way. Imagine you were only commanded 7 mitzvahs. How would you feel? Imagine you only had 7 mitzvahs, not 613. How would you feel? Deprived. That's why we say the blessing in the morning. Thank Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shelo yasani goy for not having made me a Gentile. Because Gentiles only have 7 mitzvahs. Their relationship with God is limited to 7 mitzvahs. We say, God, thank you for not depriving me with only 7. Next, we say, what happens if you only had, let's say, 210 instead of 271 action mitzvahs today? How would you feel about that? Also a little deprived. So that's how we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shelo yasani isha for not having made me a woman. Why?
Oh, you see that?
No offense, because this is how we were created. Again, we don't say for not having made me a woman because women are bad, evil, ugly, or any of the above, God forbid. We say because thank you for giving me added responsibility. Remember, being chosen is not a privilege, it's a responsibility. Stop strutting around like a peacock telling the world how chosen you are and act like you are. Right? So when we say, thank you, God, for not making me a woman, what we mean is, thank you, God, for making me responsible to the maximum available opportunities of connecting with you. By the way, why do women have that opportunity to connect with God? What are they, less than us? My understanding is
You have children.
that they're naturally more connected to God. Then this is my understanding. I got to think about this more, but women are naturally connected to God. A man is much more, what's the word?
A doer.
He's like a wilde chaya, you know? He's like a mock, you know?
He's getting pulled there and he's getting pulled away.
The women are naturally more faithful, more believers. They have a stronger faith.
They're part of creation more than men are. They're more the nurturers, and therefore,
Yeah. And that's why they make children.
Why would they
Exactly.
be more of creation?
They're part-
Man can-
I think women are like angels of God that came to
They
keep us in
nurture.
check.
they nurture.
By the way, I was looking at a study of the Warsaw Ghetto in 42, 43. They did psychological assessments, the Ringelbaum group archivists, and they did psychological assessments of men's and women's responses to increasing depravity, increasing
In the Warsaw Ghetto.
Warsaw Ghetto.
Unbelievable.
And they discovered, and the findings were that as things became more and more difficult, more and more seemingly hopeless, the men became more listless, less supportive of the institutions that were created, more withdrawn, and the woman stepped up. And
So interesting about the woman, because it's interesting because, you know, also the charoses. Why do we eat charoses on Pesach? Because during the Egyptian persecution, the men didn't want to have kids. They were not, I'm not bringing kids to this world. And it was the women who would seduce their husbands under the apple trees because of their faith. And they would say, listen, you got to have faith in God. So the charoses is the apple trees that they also, by the way, when Moses tells God tells Moses to prepare the people for receiving the Torah, he says, first tell the women, then they will help you convince the men to take on this yoke, right? So that being said, a woman are more intuitive. When you are more intuitive, you understand the needs of those around you. Yeah, this is all nurturers. So when we understand what a mitzvah is now, we're now able to finally approach our mission upon this earth. Now that we know that we're on a mission, we know what the mission is. It's the mitzvahs. So how are you going to do the mitzvahs, guys? How are you going to do the mitzvahs? What are you going to do in order to be able to fulfill the mitzvahs? I'm 75 years old. I haven't done them. Never laid tefillin my whole life. Maybe 2-3 times, right? We don't do Shabbos. It's not our thing. We don't walk to shul. We haven't done it this way. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to say, well, I guess I'm just going to do the same old? Or are you going to have the courage to reinvent yourself and say, I'm going to start my journey towards better mitzvah observance? Right? Look at us around this table. We're studying Torah like it's going out of fashion. It's unbelievable. We're influencing the world from this video screen, right? In the most beautiful way. Not just in this circle, but around the world. So Torah is on steroids over here. Thank God. But what about your personal Torah? Are you sharing Torah over the dinner table with your friends that think you're nuts? Right? And you're doing it in a logical, respectful, dignified way? Think about it, right?
The question is, where are apple trees in Palm Beach Gardens?
Yeah, I planted 4 of them last week.
We should talk about that. So folks, I want you to realize the way to do it is what the mimer concludes with right now. This is what the mimer is going to conclude with. We touched on it a few weeks ago about the apprentice. You want to learn a new trade. You know what you have to do? Shut up and listen. That's how you learn a new trade. Just sei still, stop talking so much, and just watch how I do it and copy me exactly. Don't tell me how you know how to do it better, how your great uncle did a better job. Just listen to me. Watch how we do it. Watch the master, and then you'll be able to proceed. Right? That's how the apprentice is able to become a craftsman, a master craftsman, by watching. And remember, Maimonides told us, if you want to adopt a practice, force yourself once, force yourself twice, and by the third time, it's starting to become second nature. But you have to force yourself. You can't say, well, I never did it this way. I never ate healthy food. I'm just going to have to eat junk food the rest of my life. When your doctor tells you, if you keep on eating this food, it's going to kill you, you know what you do? You change. Your doctor tells you have to exercise, but I never exercised. Okay, well, you want to live, then
start now.
Then start now, right? Same thing, and he gives you a regimen. This is what you eat, this is what you don't eat. I don't care what you like or what you don't like. This is how you have to do it. So if you're serious about your spiritual well-being, if you're serious about, I want to tell you, if Mashiach is coming in our generation, you know what that means? That means we are in the 7th round of our reincarnations. It means there is no other chances after this. We're dead. We're done. That's what the Rabbi told us in the very first discourse that the Rabbi delivered on the 11th of Shvat, 1951, when he assumed the leadership. The Rabbi said, listen, we're the last generation to come to before the coming of Mashiach. We are it. We're going to bring the ball over the goalpost. We're bringing the baton over the finish line. We're bringing the divine presence down to this world. We're bringing Mashiach. So we're on the final round. There's no more time for, maybe, I don't know, if something dramatic happens in my life. No, make it happen. Why do you have to wait for a tragedy, God forbid? Why do you have to wait for a war before the shuls fill up? Why do you have to wait for a medical crisis before you engage your faith? Why do you have to wait for a death, God forbid, before you start coming to shul every day? Right? How about we start proactively? We say, God, I'm doing it out of love. I'm not doing it out of a baseball bat hitting an ant, right? To use your very appropriate metaphor. If I can't get your attention every other way with all the $100 bills that I sent you, says God, I'm not going to have a choice. I use the baseball bat. Oh, now you notice me. Mazel tov, right? So let's see this in the words of the Discourse here on page 383. Let's see if we can reach that finish line. Okay. Am I in the right place? I think you're in the right place. Yes. No, I'm not in the wrong one. I thought so. I'm on page 3. Oh God. How do you memorize this up by heart? How do you know this?
Yeah, you're back before 370.
367-ish here. Yeah, it's on page 370. How did you know that? That's impressive. 373. Okay. So we said, how do you fulfill your divine mission? I'm at the top of page 371. Thus, accepting the heavenly yoke is of primary importance in serving God. Accepting the heavenly yoke. It means, God, I don't exactly understand you yet. I don't know why you did the Holocaust, right? I don't know why you allowed the October 7th war. But you know what? I'm like the apprentice listening to the master. I'm just going to have what we call acceptance of the heavenly yoke. It's Kabbalat Ol. It's like an ox who accepts the yoke. I am accepting upon myself the duty. Like we learned it's actually this week's Torah portion when God asked the Jewish people, do you want to get the Torah? Do you want to receive the Torah? And what do they say? Yes, unconditionally. That's what they say. Yes, unconditionally. No matter what it says in that document, we're in. And if my wife says to me the same thing, that's what I say to her. I'm like, look, Hannah, whatever you want, I'll support you. That's my attitude with her. Is that whatever it is, I'm good. Right, because I love her and I trust her, and I'm good, right? So when you're getting into if you're making a deal with Hamas, right, you don't want to say yes to anything, God forbid, right? Thank God Israel's got the strength to say, how's it go, Michael? How do you say in Italian? That's how you say it, right? Right?
Don't you say that?
My Italian's a little weak. So you should say it to Hamas, right? Oh, that's another. Right.
I'm from Brooklyn.
Exactly, but when it's dealing with someone that you trust, it's your wife or your God. Now you say, listen, God, I don't know why you did that, but you know what? I'm getting past it. I'm not allowing that to be the problem. I don't understand everything about my wife either, right? But still, I love her, I trust her, and I'm good, right? Imagine you in a relationship where your spouse doesn't trust you. How awful would that be? How absolutely awful would that be? That's not love. Love means unconditional acceptance, warts and all. That's love. The opposite of love is judgmentalism, is criticism, is conditionality, right? Love is unconditional. So this is how we approach our relationship with God, with acceptance of the heavenly yoke.
It requires hard work.
It requires a decision.
Well, I don't know if
It's a
hard
choice.
work.
It's a choice.
I think it's a choice.
It's a choice. You say, look, I'm not comfortable, but I'm going to do it anyways. And the beginning of one's daily labor must be permeated with this acceptance. That's why we wake up in the morning, we say, Modeh ani lefanecha. We say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. I don't understand all the answers to all the questions, right? I'm not willing to say everything is good, but I'm saying thank you for this. And we go to shul, we daven, we put on tefillin. Whether you do it at shul or at home, it doesn't matter. We put in tefillin and we daven and we meditate a little bit before we start the day. The first thing one must do is join in congregational prayer. He must then strive to spend the rest of each day in harmony with the Torah without having to seek reasons. That which is stated in the Torah, whether it relates to man's relationship with God or whether it relates to his relationship with his fellow man, should be performed by every Jew as part of his or her acceptance of the heavenly yoke. You're like a craftsman, apprentice. You're learning through accepting the heavenly yoke, the foundation of that, of which is an ingenious devotion. Ingenuous. The foundation of which is an
Disingenuous.
no. What does this word mean? Ingenuous.
Ingenuous.
Yes.
What does that mean? Ingenuous. There's supposed to be an I there, I think.
Disingenuous. True.
Oh, an honest, a sincere.
Disingenuous.
Oh, this is ingenuous. Oh, this is the opposite of
Right,
disingenuous.
it would have to be.
That's it. You know, certain words you only have the negative side of them.
Yeah, I've never heard of this book.
Like you can be overwhelmed,
But you never whelmed.
but you're never whelmed. Yeah, I just want to be whelmed.
You can be underwhelmed.
What?
You can be overwhelmed or underwhelmed.
You can only be overwhelmed.
No, you can be underwhelmed.
But how about if I just want to be whelmed? There's no such thing as being whelmed, right? So I've heard of disingenuous, but I never heard of ingenuous, which means like
Sincere.
sincere. Okay, got it. I'm good at this word. I like it.
Sincere.
Got it. Okay, I learned a new word. Through accepting the heavenly yoke, the foundation of which is an ingenuous devotion to Torah, mitzvahs, and good traits of character, a person's rise is ever higher in his godly service. Ultimately, this service, rather than being difficult, actually becomes a person's joy and delight. Because soon enough, you're going to get good at it. Think about your own journey, guys. Think about your own spiritual journey. When you started out, it was like hard. You didn't know what you were doing. You were a little lost. You're trying to lay that tefillin. You're trying to daven. You're trying to come to shul. You felt a little left out of things, right? But once you know what to expect, you're getting into it. You actually look forward to it. There's a guy in our community. He's started laying tefillin since the war now. It's October 7th. Every single day of his life. This guy came from a very reformed background. Nothing. And now he lays tefillin. He wrote to me the other day. He says, laying tefillin fills me with power for the rest of the day. And it's such a beautiful way he does it on his own for 2-3 minutes, but he says it's like, it just fills him with a power. So the power that he never knew, that he didn't even know, right? So in other words, what's going to happen is that by doing it, you're actually going to start to enjoy it. This is how the Alter Rebbe interprets the verse. This is a very beautiful interpretation with which we conclude. Man goes out to his work, right? Man goes out to his work when a Jew begins. Remember, the Baal Shem Tov was the one that taught us the beginning of this discourse, that the meaning of what King David's talking about is going out to work. He's talking about a soul's mission in this world. But the Alter Rebbe takes it one step further. He says, man goes out to his work when a Jew begins or goes out to his service of God, his work, with the acceptance of the heavenly yoke. If you treat your spirituality like work, with the seriousness and the respect and the devotion and the discipline of daily commitment, he then merits that his labor will last until evening, until Erev. Now, in Hebrew, there are no vowels on the words. The vowels, A, E, I, O, U, are invisible. They are little lines and dots, right? There's no A, E, I, O, U letters in the Hebrew alphabet. They're dots and stripes and lines. So they're invisible. So when you read a word, really in Hebrew, it's like, let's say, what does the word TBL spell?
Table.
Okay, you're saying table.
But
It could be something else if you put in different vowels, right? So let's say, like you can play around with different words, like whatever. I can't think of something right now. But if you take out the vowels,
Conjugations.
what?
Conjugations.
Conjugations, right? So
Declensions.
if there are no vowels, then you can actually play like BD. The word BD. What does BD spell?
bed.
Could be bed. Could be bid. It could be bad. So these are very different, right? But a lot of different words. So BD, that's how Hebrew is. It's just BD. The vowels are invisible. So when you have the evening word, it says because he then merits that his labor will last until Erev evening. Now we read it as Erev evening, but the word can also be read as Orev, which means sweet. You could read the word as sweet. Orev may also be translated as sweetness, so that the verse can be taken to mean that his service of God will become sweet to him. When you put the pedal to the metal, when you commit yourself to something, you'll start to enjoy it. And in fact, there's something very, very beautiful. If you ever noticed, like somebody passes away, tell them they have to tear their shirt, cover the mirrors, take off your shoes, wear sit on low stools. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Think about it. If the guy's not feeling miserable that he lost his loved one, then why do you have to like do all this outward stuff? Like faking it as if, yeah, I'm tearing my shirt, but I'm not really feeling bad that the guy died. I'm just tearing my shirt. What's the purpose of such an external action? Chinuch, the book of Chinuch, which was written by an unknown author in the 13th century. He wrote the book of education in order to his son as a bar mitzvah gift. It's attributed to Rabbi Aaron Alevi, but we're not for sure, from Barcelona. He writes that the reason why we do these customs is because of this principle, folks. It's a very powerful principle. It's life-changing, this one. Because of achrei hamaisim nimshachim halavavis. Because following the action, so after the actions, the hearts follow suit. After the actions, the hearts follow suit. When you invest in something, that's when you start to feel it. So if you tear the clothing, if you sit on the low stool, if you act like a mourner, you know what's going to happen? You're going to start feeling like a mourner. You're going to start feeling the grief. What happens when you dress like a beach bum? What do you feel like? And what happens when you dress to the nines? You look like $1 million. When you look like $1 million, you know what you feel like? You feel like $1 million, right? The canali, exactly, the canali, right? So this is the meaning. After the actions, the hearts follow suit. You know, here at the Chabad, it's very, very important. We tell people that it's very important that they should have a financial relationship with the Chabad. Very, very important. Why? Because if they just come, let's say they can't afford anything, right? If they just come, then they're just spectators. They have no emotional connection with the shul. But the moment that they invest something, no matter how much, the more the better, because this changes with the more you do it. The more they invest financially, the more they feel emotionally connected.
It's called skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Absolutely. Absolutely. And because if you have no skin in the game, it's like, big deal. I couldn't care less what's going on over there. You know, but you'll notice people become members over here. Suddenly they started to walk around the property. They're like, Rabbi, this door's not working. The grass is too tall. Where were you for the past 5 years? Oh, you weren't a member. Now I get it. Okay, I get it. Because now you feel connected. You see what I'm saying? You actually feel invested. It's my house. What do you mean? The thing's not working. We got to get it fixed. It's amazing. The less people give, this is an amazing, amazing truth. The less they give to Chabad, the more they kvetch. The more they give, the less they kvetch. It's an unbelievable truth. You know that we have a famous story about that, right? No. They complain.
The more you give, the more you're involved.
No, kvetching is not being involved. Kvetching is complaining. This is not okay. That's not okay. But the minute they become a member, you know what happens? What do you mean? When somebody else complains, they jump in and defend the shul. You see what I'm saying? That's what happens over here. That's why when there was once a person that came here and he complained about the minion. He complained about the minion. Rob came in here one day.
You made him the chairman.
He said he complained about the minion. I knew why he's complaining, because he wasn't a member. I said, okay, so there's two ways to fix it. There's two ways to fix the problem. One way, there wasn't enough people here. I said, one way is that you can become the chairman of the problem. You become the chairman, skin in the game. You're going to be now responsible for making sure there's a minion. I'm going to give you all the phone numbers. Oh, that's it. That's not it. And another way, I said an easier way, if you don't want to become the chairman with skin in the game, another way is you can write a check to solve the problem. So Rob did both of those. We ran ads in the newspaper. We put ads in the newspaper, Daily Minion.
I didn't get my payout.
But it's amazing. And what happened was, it's amazing. He never complained ever again. He's afraid to complain. No, but really, it's a very, very beautiful human truth. And I want to give you another example. There's these schools of thought that say you want Judaism to continue. You know what you have to do? You got to make it easier for the people. You've got to make it easier. You can't make it so difficult. You got to, the service can't be so long. It can't be in Hebrew. The sermon can't be too deep. It's got to be no sermon. It's got to be a kiddush as soon as you walk into the door, right? You can't make it difficult, right? That's what they say. They water down Judaism. The more. And the truth is, the most celebrated Jewish holidays are the most difficult ones. Yom Kippur is observed far more than Purim is.
Nothing.
Right? Yom Kippur, you're not eating for 25 hours. Much more Jews observe Yom Kippur than those that have even heard of Purim, where the mitzvahs they eat at Hamantash. right? Think about it. The harder the mitzvah, the more people observe it. And if you want Judaism to continue, you want your kids and grandkids to keep it up, you know what you do? Don't make it easy for them. Don't dumb it down. Don't make it easy for them. Challenge them. Because if they got that sweat equity invested, that's when you know it's going to endure. But something that came easy, it's going to be like, easy come, easy go.
Nothing ventured, nothing.
Exactly. It's a mindset shift, you know, as to how we're supposed to approach, you know, the challenges. I think about the Talmud. Look at the Talmud here, right? So the Talmud, it's amazing. You open up a page of Talmud and you learn this thing. You learn the Talmud, right? You learn it for like, I don't know, there's 72 volumes of this thing. There's 7,200 pages in here. And they're arguing back and forth and in and out and up and down. And how could it be? And what about this case? What about that case? You know, the commentaries of Tosfos over here on the side of the page. There were 60 French sages. And what they did was each one of them was well-versed, extremely well-versed in one of the tractates of Talmud. So when the rabbi would give a class, 60 students were there. And they were like, but what about this? What about that? What about the other? And they formulated the commentaries of Tosfos. Now you think, why do we need to go through this? And by the end, they say, oops, actually there was a spelling mistake. There was a missing word, and this is what it should have said, right? Seriously? Couldn't you just correct it once and for all and save us all the time? Why do we have to go through that whole back and forth process? The reason is because by going through that back and forth process, that's what's going to make you remember it. You know, the stories of Joseph. Imagine if the Torah would have just told us, you know what? You are where you need to be. There's no need to complain. God knows exactly what he's doing. Imagine we had 2-3 lines instead of half the book of Genesis, and we had all the lessons of Joseph, right? Clearly articulated in 2-3 lines. Finished. Why do we have to have all the stories? Because if you had 2-3 lines, it would go straight over your head. When you have to grapple through the stories, you have to understand, why did he do that? Why did that guy say this? How did he respond? Look at this word. It doesn't make sense. And when you grapple through it now you own it. And that's why I want to conclude by saying that if you're serious about becoming a mensch, if you're serious about fulfilling your divine purpose upon this earth, living a life that's not just reactive to all the stimuli that surrounds you, but you want to live a life that's proactive. You want to take your relationship with God to the next level and say, God, you know, I just realized that I'm actually related to you. I'm your son. I'm the prince. I am the crown prince. And that you send me on such a difficult mission, but guess what? I am rising to out of my slumber. I'm becoming aware of my mission. And now you say, I am actually going to take it seriously. The way to do that is by doing the deed. Start with the deed and the creed will follow. After the actions, the feelings will follow suit. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is telling us. Back to that opening verse. Man goes out to his work, to his labor, which should be done until sweetness. Not until evening, because that's what's going to give you the passion and the joy and the appreciation of being a Jew and doing the right thing and fulfilling the mission of Hashem. Shelley's saying, we all know about that. I complained about the Kiddushes back in the day, and we weren't happy about our space, and look where we are today. Very good. Fantastic. Your comfort zone, Garrett, may kill you. That's right. No growth happens inside of your comfort zone. Okay, good. You got to walk the walk. In addition to talking the talk. And that, friends, concludes. We actually did conclude the discourse here today. I'm going to take a bit of a break next week, starting from the second half of the week. I'll be out of the country. But when I return, so next week, Monday, Tuesday, we'll learn. But after that, I'll be gone for a couple of days. We'll try to start something fresh in Chassidus. Monday's the gala. We hope that you'll join us, supporting the congregation. We really need your support. It doesn't happen by itself. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't think so.